Welcome to Freeze Your Milk Podcast. I'm your host, Bridget, along with my husband, Chris. Podcast where we talk about the comedic side and serious side of parenting, life, and relationships. We are boy parents. We have two boys, Enzo and Rhett, with about a 6-year age gap between the two. You can check out our website, freezeyourmilk.com. Also, feel free to follow us on Instagram at Freeze Your Milk Podcast. Thanks and hope you enjoy. Welcome back.
Hey, we missed you.
I know. I can't believe we missed last week.
Yeah, it was a busy week though. In our defense, we were actually going to try to podcast, but
When we landed from our flight.
we landed from our flight and we got to our hotel. It was like 9 o'clock. 9 p.m.
Yeah, because my aunt
East
met
Coast.
us. We had dinner, and by the time we actually got settled and then the kids didn't go to bed till freaking late. Enzo didn't go to bed till 11.
Right.
Because he was on Arizona time.
So we did try, but we had good intentions. We just didn't pan it out.
We brought everything with us, all the equipment and everything.
Here we are.
Yeah, no.
So we'll make it up to you.
So we figured this week we're going to do a vacation recap, and then next week we'll do the part 3 of the series of about you, about me, and then about us, and what we've gone through in our relationship. So that'll be next week.
Yep. Well, let's give a kind of a recap of what we did or what the vacation was about, where we went. etc.
Vacation with kids, man.
Something else.
Parenting in a different location without the creature comforts of home.
Yeah, it's not vacation. Not for the adults, anyway.
No. So we went to Virginia, D.C., Maryland, West Virginia, and then we drove through Pennsylvania very quickly, but...
We didn't stop. We waved.
Yes. Oh, Pennsylvania. Here we go. Okay, bye. So we flew into Virginia and then spent the first, 3 days in Alexandria? And that was kind of a cool experience for you to see, downtown. And do you remember when we first driving through Alexandria to the hotel, you were just amazed at the architecture?
Yeah, it was awesome. It's not stuff we see here in the Southwest. I've been to a lot of different states. I've seen a lot of different things, but, there's something to say about being somewhere when you're not forced to be there. You're there for you and your family versus being there for work or whatever the case may be, because you actually pay attention to stuff.
Like houses built before 1800. And
Yep, it's a whole different culture.
It's interesting to see for sure. There's a magic to it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
It's crowded and chaotic and hectic, but there is a magic to the older towns out there. So we got to our hotel condo. That was kind of an interesting situation. I felt like we didn't really have any problems with the door locks. I guess some people do, but I thought it was a pretty good deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a nice little setup. A fully furnished, basically apartment, 2-bedroom apartment.
Yeah. So what it is it's a company called Placemaker, and they do a brand called Y Hotel, WHY. And they only do it in super major metropolitan areas. So DC, LA, Chicago, New York, etc. But they come in and they come to new apartment buildings and they lease out for a year, 50 of them, of the apartments or 20 of them. And they use them as hotels. So we had a full 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo, dual master. And, I don't know, it was probably 1,300 square foot. Full kitchen, living room, everything, for cheaper than what we would have paid for an actual hotel.
Yeah.
So I thought it was great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's great.
Versus trying to be in a hotel with not having separate rooms, and we had Rhett sleep in. So because it's an apartment condo, and it's a dual master, the walk-in closets were huge. Mm-hmm. So we put Rhett's pack and play in the walk-in closet and left the door cracked and connected it to our master.
Which I think worked better.
Absolutely, because he couldn't see us and it was darker.
And the flight out there wasn't terrible, I don't think, but...
He cried the last 30 minutes of it.
Yeah, he was ready to get out. Mm-hmm. I think we did him a disservice by keeping him in a car seat and a stroller for too long, and then trying to put him back in a car seat on the plane, and then trying to keep him on a car seat. Because he did all right on the way back.
Yeah, it wasn't as bad because we were more intentional about. It was hard because it was a morning flight on the way there, so
Right.
he woke up and went immediately into a car seat to drive to the airport, and then was put in a stroller and sat in a stroller for an hour and a half until the flight, and then was put in a car seat.
Yeah.
So it was just a lot. I think it was just tough because he didn't have time to like be free and roam.
Well, and me being the great husband that I was, that I thought I was, I told her, I said, hey, because I snore when I sleep, and I'm like, hey, you and Red are going to be in the one bedroom, and I'll share a bedroom with Enzo.
So you guys queen size beds.
Yeah, they're queen size beds. I'm like, it's a smaller bed. You can get some sleep. You're pregnant. You need your space. Red will be in there. I don't want to wake you guys up. I'll go sleep with Enzo. And I'm thinking that this is great. You just kind of laughed it off, and I didn't really think anything of it. But,
I just kind of smirked and laughed. Said, okay.
So it comes time to go to bed, and we, kids are already, or baby's asleep. Enzo's in his room trying to sleep, but he can't sleep because he's 3 hours ahead because of the time difference. So he's really thrown off. He's in his bed, and I'm like, I go in there.
You and I are exhausted.
Yeah, we're so tired. We're just, I'm not in the mood for this. I walk into the room. He's still up, and I'm like, what are you doing up? And he's like, I can't sleep. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm coming in here, so you're going to sleep.
It was 11:30 East Coast, which is, 8:30 Arizona time?
Yeah.
Which is about his bedtime, but he was just so hyped.
Yeah, he was just hyped up, and he didn't want to sleep. But I got in there, I get in the bed. Mind you, it's a queen-size bed, and Enzo's moving around and kicking and flipping the blanket over his head, taking it off his head, and he just keeps doing this, and he's like humming, and I'm like, Enzo, you need to go to sleep, and so do I. So stop making noise, stop moving around. And he'd stop for about 30 seconds, and then he'd start up again because he just can't help it. He's tossing and turning, and and he's tossing and turning and moving around a bunch, and he rolls over to me, and he goes, how do you fall asleep so quickly? And I roll over, and I just the sternest voice I can muster up. I'm like, easily. Just completely frustrated at this point. And
You're like, count to 1,000.
I was like, count to 1,000. And so he started doing it, and he got quiet for a little bit. And then he started rolling around again. I finally text Bridget, and I'm like, I can't do this. I can't. I'm sorry. I tried. I was so frustrated by the whole situation. I ended up in the, coming back over to her side of the... And me and her trying to make a queen-size bed work, and I'm not the smallest guy around, so...
And I'm 8 months pregnant.
And you're 8 months pregnant, so that was interesting.
It was funny to me, though, because when you came in to tell me about it, and you were like, yeah, I said to Enzo, easily. I was like, to be fair, I also wonder this, how do you fall asleep so quickly? Because you and I will be talking, and then, a second later, you're snoring, out. And I'm like, how? We were just having a conversation, and you're just out. I don't understand it.
Enzo gives me a hard time all the time because he'll be like, hey, Creek, can we watch a movie? It'll be on a weekend or something. He'll be like, can we watch a movie? I'm like, yeah, let's do that.
It could be 10 a.m.
Yeah, it'll be early in the morning. We'll get on the couch and start watching a movie, and we'll get maybe 30 minutes into it, not even, and I'll...
snoring away.
Sack out, and I'm done.
Doesn't matter what time of day he asks to watch a movie with you. You could have just woken up 2 hours prior, and he'll still pass out on the couch. And so it's always like, Creed never finishes a movie because he always falls asleep and snores.
Yep, that's that sleep apnea. What can I say? So that was the first night. And what happened the second day?
So we originally were just going to go see our friends, but we decided that with the pending potential forecast of rain and also our checkout time and getting out to my cousin's house on Friday, we would do DC on Wednesday in case we got rained out Friday.
Right.
So we were originally going to do the Metro, and I was so bummed. So this condo was literally walking distance to the Metro stop, and that was part of the appeal, is that you could walk to the grocery store, you could walk to restaurants, you could walk to Starbucks, you could walk to CVS, and you could walk to the Metro, all within a 2-block radius. And the Metro was closed for construction until November 5th. That was so... It was, I didn't know this when we booked it because it wasn't closed yet at the time. So I was totally bummed out. So we originally were going to go drive and park and then ride the Metro because Enzo wanted to ride the Metro. But then we were like, we're just going to drive in because we just want to do a couple hours. We have stuff this afternoon to do. So you got to experience driving into DC and realize that that's...
Not
these parking garages are buried.
It's not sustainable, and it's expensive.
Yeah. But we parked, and then we popped out, and we were like right on Pennsylvania Avenue. So we popped out right by the FBI building and got to see that. And then we walked by like the IRS building and the Attorney General and something else. But you were blown away by all the architecture out there too.
Yeah.
And just when we got to the mall, like the DC Mall, the big lawn area with the museums, I feel like you were pretty blown away by that. Like it's not something you've seen.
Yeah. So then we decided to
did the museums.
Walk to the Smithsonian, the museums. We walked through a couple of those. They got busy quick, and the one we wanted to see was closed.
Yeah, Air and Space was closed for renovations. So we did the Natural History Museum, so the big elephant
and doing this with like Rhett was great the entire trip. Like he was fantastic, and he's 19 months old. Fantastic. Just the normal stuff.
He eventually would tap out in his stroller or car seat and be done with it.
Yeah. But trying to get Enzo in line to go through, to walk that stuff, he was just all over the place. It was so much harder. I thought it was going to be the other way around.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. Rhett was great and Enzo was not.
He was very distracted by every shiny object.
Yeah. So I know he was excited and it was tough. But we got through it, So we walked all those museums.
He got to see, we didn't spend a ton of time in American history. Like Enzo wanted to see the Star Spangled Banner flag because his dad has seen that and his dad liked it. So of course Enzo wanted to see it too. Mm-hmm. So he saw that. I took a picture with him like outside of that exhibit and saw the First Lady dresses and just saw the Washington Monument from a distance, saw the Capitol from a distance. Walked by the old post office pavilion, which is like my favorite building in DC. So it's cool because I feel like you got a chance to see something that has a special place in my heart.
And naturally, I sprained my ankle on the first day. So, walking down a sidewalk, mind you.
It has like a brick runner along the side of it to extend the sidewalk another foot wide.
And it was missing some bricks.
And you were not looking.
And I walked right into the hole.
Yeah. You were excited by the buildings. You were looking up at stuff.
So that was my memory that will always stick with me about DC. Falling in a hole.
Hopefully it was like overall though. I think it,
it's cool.
When we were down there, you said it was cool to be able to see places I've talked about or things that I've been excited to show you. And
yeah, for sure. No, it was beautiful down there. It was awesome to see. And it was, fall, so it was changing of the leaves, which is something I'm not used to from the Southwest, and it's not something we see all the time.
And we went to my friend's house.
Yeah, we went to your friend's house, spent some time over there.
Yeah.
Hanging with them, their kids.
Yeah, had some dinner, got to play outside in the yard a little bit.
Not every house is baby proof.
No.
We figured that out.
Most houses aren't.
Yeah.
It's not even infant proof, it's toddler proof. Yeah. It's a whole different level of child proofing.
Yeah. And they made a good dinner and we spent some time with them and left.
Yeah. And
next day you had a friend come over to the...
That's right. So the next day, my childhood best friend, who's still my best friend, she came down just to the condo, which was super nice.
It was raining all day.
Yeah, it was a beautiful rainy day.
Yep.
But she came down to the condo, and that was kind of nice just to have her relax there with us versus
trying to go meet her somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, especially because it was raining, so it's not like we could go outside somewhere, and we don't want to have Rhett, contained in a stroller the whole time. So he got to run around and play, and she just sat there and chatted and caught up on life and hung out with the kids. And
what did your aunt and niece do for us while we were there?
My aunt Denise is she has such a good heart. She came out here right after Rhett was born. And she's just the sweetest lady ever. So she lives 2 hours from our hotel. And our first night there, she drove the 2 hours and she got a hotel a block away from us, a Marriott, and got a hotel room. She brought a pack and play that she had bought for us to use. And then she brought like a bunch of toys and books and, different things for both Enzo and Rhett to play with in the condo so that they weren't just bored. And just so sweet. Like, she boxes of stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I have these books and there's this other books and here's a puzzle and, here's some toys for Enzo and here's some toys for Rhett. And just was so excited just to love on us in that way. And
which, if you've listened to the last 2 podcasts we've done regarding our families, it's not something where either one of us are used to.
No. She was going to walk back to her hotel at like 11 o'clock at night. I was like, absolutely not. She's like, it's like a block away. I'm like, I don't care. I will drive you. It is fine. Like, you're not walking by yourself at 11 o'clock at night down here. Like, it's a safe area, but I would never forgive myself if something happened to you.
So she took care of us, took us out to dinner.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
It was really nice of her.
She's very sweet.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, my friend came Thursday, and then we drove out to your sister and brother-in-law and their kids and your dad.
Yeah.
Why don't you share about that?
Yeah, that was fun. That's about all I got on that. No, I mean, it was what it was. Everybody was in school or working, so when we got there, it was just Amy. Her husband was working. My dad was there. I guess he was excited for us. He had been waiting up for us all day, and he normally naps quite a bit or sleeps in. So, I mean, we got to spend a little bit of time there and spitball with them, talk, and then we ended up just leaving. It really wasn't.
You were very moody when we left.
Yeah, I was.
Why were you moody?
I don't remember.
I think you were disappointed your dad wasn't more excited.
Yeah, he kind of sat on the couch the entire time on his phone.
Yeah.
And that was the first time he had met Rhett, my son. So I think I was a little frustrated.
He didn't try to interact with him at all.
No, not at all.
And I think that it like set a tone for you.
Yeah.
Where you were just upset about that. I think for some reason the expectation of the visit was not what ended up happening.
No. I mean, Amy was great. She was trying to, spend as much time with Rhett and get him what he, try to give him toys and stuff to do and following him around and playing with him. And she made a good dinner.
I thought it was delicious.
Yeah. But it was, all in all, I mean, it was...
Rhett got to experience being around a larger dog.
Yeah.
And this poor dog. The dog's like 2 years old. And I don't think this dog's ever been around a toddler. And it's, it's a very docile dog, in my opinion. Like, not aggressive at all. And Rhett is like, I want to grab your face and, like, poke your eyeball. And, like, try to, like, make out with your side of your face. Like, Rhett.
The dog wasn't having it.
The dog was like, this small, tiny human is really in my space.
Yeah.
I felt so bad. Like, they're like, oh, like, they were worried about the dog, like, hurting Rhett, and Rhett's over here taunting the dog, trying to, like, instigate him to chase him.
He'd run up to him, put his face in his snout, and then he'd run away.
And look back and smile. And I'm like, oh, God. This poor dog is just like, what is happening to me? Because he's not around toddlers. Like, her kids are older,
So, yeah, that was... Yeah, it was what it served its purpose. We went out there and spent some time, and
yeah, you got to drive through some crazy rain.
Yeah, it was really rainy out there. They had a big storm come through.
Yeah, and you realize that like East Coast roads
are narrow.
They're narrow and back roads, and
we did a lot of driving.
We did. I didn't actually clock the mileage, but we did a lot of driving. So then Friday, we woke up and Enzo asked, when are we going to ride the subway metro train? And I was like, and he'd also wanted a picture in front of the White House. So I was like, hey, I know this is exactly what you want to do today, but I feel like we need to do this.
Yeah.
Oh, rewind for a second. You want to tell about my meltdown on Thursday morning?
Thursday morning meltdown.
Coffee and breakfast.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so we woke up Thursday morning, and I had this plan before that I had in my head before I even talked to her. I'm like, hey, I'm gonna walk down to Starbucks, get us some coffee, I'll take the baby, and then we'll figure out breakfast after that. And Bridget's like, well, no, maybe we should all go. We should all go get coffee, and then we can just go grab breakfast, and then we can do the metro. And I'm like, well,
Thursday, not Friday. So best friend day. We had to get back by a certain time.
Yeah.
To see my best friend.
Yeah. So anyway, I lost track of thought.
I thought we should all go.
Yeah, we thought we should all go. So she looks for a drive-through Starbucks because she doesn't want to. We don't want to unpack everybody and we're gonna go hit the drive-through. Then we're gonna go to get breakfast from a cafe or something. Yeah. So we do this long drive, and we pass a cafe. We're like, ooh, maybe we should go there after Starbucks. So she takes me over to a Starbucks, and we roll up, and the Starbucks is closed. And we're like,
it didn't even say in the app it was closed.
So we're like, oh, I could have just gotten coffee. I could have walked down, Anyway, this is what's running through my head. So by this point, she's a little irritated. We start driving, or we're like, hey, we're going to grab breakfast at this one Milk and Honey place or whatever that's right down the street.
Had really good reviews.
And we pull up there. It's pouring rain. We get the baby out. We get Enzo out.
He had thrown up randomly.
Yeah, he threw up randomly. I was cleaning him up. It's pissing rain. And we go into this place, and we look around, and there's no seating. Nothing. There's like a couple stools. And we're like, how are we supposed to do this? We have a 7-year-old and a freaking... a toddler, a 19-month-old toddler. I'm like, how am I going to do this? So by this point, she says, we can't do this. We start heading back to the car, and she just starts bawling. And I'm like, oh, God. Here we go. So I get them all loaded up. We're all soaking wet. She's crying in the front seat, and I'm like,
You're like, is this pregnancy?
I was like, are you okay? You need a hug? What do we need to do here? I was like, let's go over to the cafe, get some food. So we go over to the cafe, we get you fed, and we finally grab a coffee at the place that I wanted to go on the way back. So we grab a coffee, we get back to the room, and we start. What was it? We didn't do a whole lot that night. If I remember.
That was the day we saw a best friend in your family.
Oh yeah. So it was that morning, and then Friday morning,
yeah,
we wake up, and I'm like, okay. I'm going to take the baby, and I'm going to walk down to Starbucks and get us Starbucks. We're not driving anywhere. We're not going through any drive-thrus. So I walked down, grabbed a Starbucks, came back up, and she's like, well, you need to figure out the restaurants because obviously I can't do it. And I'm like, all right. So I go through my phone. I'm like, all right, I found one. And we drive down, literally, we load up the car, get the car. We literally drive 5 minutes down the road. It has a parking lot, and that which is hard to find in
the DC area.
Pull into the parking lot, cute little thing. They're ready for us. They have no wait. And we sit down and we eat. And all I can think to myself is, see how easy this was?
So glad it was so easy for you.
So it was just, she just couldn't handle it.
Nope.
So
then after that, we ate breakfast. We drove to we checked out of the hotel. And we drove to a metro station that actually had parking, which is also hard to find near DC because none of them do. And then rode the metro in, and that made you a little bit motion sick.
Yeah, I get motion sick easily. That's why I drive everywhere.
I think Enzo liked it.
Yeah, he did. We took the baby, and it was just a lot. Every freaking elevator we got in smelled like piss. I'm like, I don't know. Why does it smell like urine in here?
But we got down to the city and popped out, literally walked like 3 blocks to the White House, took a picture in front of the fence.
Went back to the metro.
Came back out.
And then we drove out to your cousin's house.
Yeah. So we drove out to my cousin's, and we met him for dinner in this cute little town that you loved.
It was amazing. We got there, and I felt like I was in a Hallmark movie.
You literally said that out loud. You were like, this looks like a Hallmark movie.
It was amazing. What was it called?
Winchester, Virginia.
Winchester, Virginia. Anybody that ever goes to Virginia and just wants to go to Winchester because that place is awesome.
It's very quaint.
Yes.
It's very cute.
Older buildings, bunch of shops. It's got all the trees were turning and red and yellows, and
there's a trumpet player, street performer.
Yeah.
And he had little maracas for Rhett and Enzo to
play along with.
And Rhett he could not stop smiling when the guy was playing. He was just looking at him like, wow, like, I love music, and you are literally making music in front of me. Like, that was the look on Rhett's face. Yeah. It was so cute.
So,
but it was for me, it was fun to see Rhett and Enzo experience that, but also watch you experiencing it and seeing your kids be able to have that same experience and seeing just the joy that it was bringing you at the same time. That was really cool.
Yeah, it was awesome.
That one had a great restaurant for dinner.
Yes, it did. It was delicious.
The server there was like fantastic. She was like, let me put this farther away from the baby, and let me make sure I bring a non-breakable type plate, and let me, like, she just thought about it all.
Obviously, she probably had kids.
Yeah.
She understood.
It was very considerate. It was very nice. So we got to my cousin's house, and you were like, my cousin had texted me when we were driving out there, and he was all, my house is kind of bland. And I was like, that's perfect. And we get there, and there's very minimal decorations from like 3 feet down, which is about the Rhett danger zone. And you're like, thank God.
And he had went out and bought gates or something.
My aunt got them. So speaking of my aunt, she dropped off toys at his house.
Yep. She
dropped off baby gates at his house because he has a townhome with like 2 levels. So she dropped off baby gates, one for the upper, one for the lower of the stairs.
Yep. So it felt more comfortable there and more relaxed, a little bit more relaxed. We were able to actually just hang out. And
it was also nice to have like the quality time with him and have like the additional pair of eyes for the kids, you know, because he really enjoys hanging out with them too. So being able to like breathe for a second and be like, okay, like he's another person that is responsible and keeping an eye on them too. Yeah. This is nice. We can breathe a little bit more.
Yeah, then we drove an hour over to your aunt's house in an old town.
Was that night?
I'm pretty sure it was because we went over there twice.
Was it Friday or Saturday we went over? I think it was Saturday.
It might have been the following day.
Yeah, I think it was the following day.
But we went over there, and because we didn't do anything on the day after we got there, I don't think.
On Friday after dinner? No, I think we were tired. Saturday though, you got to see where I like my house growing up, and you got to have a good understanding of like what the area I lived in growing up was like, and why I appreciate not living super rural.
Yep, because it was rural.
It was rural. There's not a whole lot out there. And then you got to see like the high school I graduated from, and then we went to this place called Baker Park in downtown Frederick.
Oh yeah, it was beautiful too.
And you were like,
they actually had real grass.
You were shocked that there was so Frederick is not that big and Baker Park is not that big, but size-wise, if you took New York City and Central Park and like, you know, scaled them down, that would be Frederick and Baker Park. Like, it's a large park for the city. You know, it's a very expansive. It runs probably over a mile. It's large. But you were shocked that there was like this park in the middle of the city that was like sunken in, and like you could let your kids run around and not have a fear of them running up to the street like right away. Like it was very big.
Yeah.
Expansive, is that the word? I don't know what word I'm looking for.
Yeah, one of those words.
But it was like playgrounds, and we had like benches to sit on under the trees that were changing.
Yeah, we got some good pictures, and we got to spend some time there, and then
Red at one point just laid down on the grass, like in awe of it.
You got a good picture of him.
Yeah, he was like just shocked, like this grass is so soft.
And your cousin took him on the playground, went down the slides, and
yeah,
that was fun. We got to sit at the bench and watch. And
Enzo did a leaf hunt. He hunted for different color leaves.
Yeah.
And he was so excited. Remember, he kept thinking he would stick a stick in the ground, and he didn't realize it was like basically like attaching a piece of grass with a root of the grass to the bottom of the stick. And he'd be like, "This stick grew a root already!" Like he was just blown away, and he kept doing it and never realized it was just a piece of grass. But he was like so excited. He was like, "The ground is so soft and like it's so good for the stick, and it's already trying to grow a root."
He was excited.
I was like, doesn't quite work that way, but child magic. We'll just let you believe it. It does. And then went to my aunt's house, and we got out to her house.
Just talk about rural.
She's rural.
In an old town, very small town.
Yeah.
And best part about it was they had a giant deck off the back of that house.
Screened-in porch,
It was a screened-in porch, and it was just overlooked fields, and it was amazing.
It was like a farmer's field, and then in the distance was like an old farmhouse that has like horses. And then behind that was like a mountain with trees all changing color.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Like you just sat there and
I sat there the entire night.
Yeah, you were blown away when you walked out back. You were like, oh, wow.
It was amazing.
But the same thing though with my aunt. As soon as we got there, she immediately takes Enzo and Rhett, has like a huge bin of like outdoor sports stuff, like little kids' bat and balls and like, I don't even know, badminton or something.
Yeah.
Cones and soccer balls, and just takes all of it. She's like, let's go play, and like takes them in the yard, and just immediately like just wanted to do everything with them and interact with them. And
it was nice. It gave us some time to just kind of try and unwind and be us.
Yeah, and
not be on parent all the time.
You got to meet her husband, and just chit chat with him, which is cool.
Mm-hmm. Learned a lot.
Yeah, he's a very knowledgeable man.
Yes, he is.
So that was Saturday, and then went back to my cousin's house that night, and you drove.
Yeah.
And you were terrified.
Yeah, the roads at night out there, man, there's dead everything everywhere, and you're just narrow roads, and
you keep seeing dead deer, and you get anxious, and there's no street lights on any of these roads.
No,
and they have a lot
black.
of like blind turns, blind hills.
Yeah, it was rough. So, and I was tired.
Yeah, and it's like an hour from their house.
It's a far drive. Everything's far.
Sunday we
went to a pumpkin patch.
Yeah, we had a relaxing morning. We went and got some breakfast.
Massive pumpkin patch.
Yeah. And we
huge.
So we went to pumpkin patch, and my cousin went with us, and then his older brother and the older brother's girlfriend met us there, and then my aunt and uncle met us there. So it was like a whole to-do.
Mm-hmm.
And, I didn't want to be like, hey, do you want to come to pumpkin patch and shell out money? So I picked up the ticket for everybody. But as soon as we got in, they were, again, my older cousin was like, hey, Enzo, like, let's go do the scavenger hunt. And
just took him completely from us and just ran and had him the entire time.
Yeah, he had him for like 2 hours just going around doing different things. We did the corn maze.
Then your other cousin took Rhett.
Yeah, my other cousin and my uncle took Rhett and disappeared for like an hour.
No.
And it was probably, then after the pumpkin patch, we went back to my aunt and uncle's house again. And they set up the tables like Thanksgiving style. So they had all these like foldable tables like out in the living room. They put like a white tablecloth on them and had like candles lit. Like, I remember you saw it and you were like, oh, wow.
This is what we're doing. So.
But they were like, they made spaghetti for Rhett. She made French fries for Rhett. My uncle made like a venison stew. Mm-hmm. Like, they had dairy-free butter and dairy-free bread, and got apple cider just for you to have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was really fun.
I think
part of the trip.
That, like, we talk about it so much, but for me, and probably for you too, but definitely for me, the time spent with them was probably my favorite of the trip, because just witnessing family love on our kids.
Yeah.
And like truly love on them. No strings attached. No, hey, I need you to fix this for me, or will you look at this, or will you do that, or I have ulterior motives, or I just want pictures to show off to my friends and I don't really care, or like, nothing. We just want to pour love into you and your kids. And we enjoy hanging out with them, and we enjoy hanging out with you. And
yeah.
Would you say that was like one of your favorite parts?
Yeah, I'd say so. The back end of the trip was definitely my favorite part.
Yeah.
So.
And then we flew back.
Yeah, it wasn't terrible, except the flight was a lot longer, and I had to sit with Rhett this time, and...
Oh, rough life. You had to sit with Rhett this time. I did it the whole way out.
Yeah, but it was an hour shorter.
Oh, okay.
And then
I sat with Rhett the last 40 minutes of the flight.
there was a mom that had a young one that was struggling, so you gave her a blanket for the baby, and...
Yeah. Oh, I felt so bad for her. So she was... I was in the... Enzo and I were in the row behind you, and then she was in your same row, but like across the aisle, and she was a solo traveler, and she had her 10-month-old on her lap, and you could just like tell, like, A, the 10-month-old needed to go to sleep, it was bedtime. B, like, the mom was just getting frazzled because she couldn't go stand in the back. There was like somebody back there. You know, she kept trying to like bounce the 10-month-old, and 10-month-old was just overly tired and getting stressed. And I remember at one point after we got off the flight, you were like, I really just wanted to offer to like walk her baby up and down the aisle, but I didn't want to be weird.
Yeah.
You're like, it might be weird coming from a guy. Plus, Rhett was awake still, so he would not have been happy if you left.
No, I had to entertain him the entire time.
But, so we had an extra little, one of those like muslin cloth blankets, and so I offered it to her. Not so much even for the baby, but more of just a sign of support to the mom. Like, hey, like, you got this. You're doing great.
And the lady that was sitting next to me was really nice. She was holding the baby and trying to calm her down, and
Yeah.
that was really nice.
So she tried the blanket. It didn't really work. So she gave the blanket back to me. And then she, like, finally gets her to go to sleep. But then you could tell, like, she was getting cold. And so I was like, hey, do you want the blanket? She was like, you read my mind. Thank you so much. I was like, yeah, absolutely. And then the guy next to her in the middle seat.
Yeah, he slept the entire flight up until and then the baby finally falls asleep. What a fucking dick. he finally fucking, middle seat, he's sleeping the whole time. Doesn't, just, you can tell he was annoyed in the beginning. Decided to go to sleep. He finally wakes up. The baby's asleep. The mom's got the baby asleep. And he goes, oh, I need to go to the bathroom. Can you move? So she had to get up with this baby that's asleep, and it woke up the baby.
Yeah.
So, dude, you're a fucking asshole.
Yeah. Yeah, and the guy next to me was kind of rude because he was, like, texting his wife about, like, oh, this is why you don't travel with small children, blah, blah, blah. And I was just
Some people don't even have a choice. She didn't even understand why she was traveling.
I talked to her later.
Yeah, the girl that was traveling with her baby was traveling because her dad was dying.
Yeah, like, she was going to say goodbye. Like, her husband couldn't last minute do the trip. She was saying they normally fly together. But so she had to, fly out there to say her goodbyes. And I was like, man, people just make assumptions,
You just never know.
But when we went to get off the plane, I did offer. I was like, because I could tell, like, she was holding the baby, and she was kind of frazzled about, like, I have stuff everywhere. Like, I have a bottle here, and I have a pacifier clip here, and I have a diaper bag here, and I have, like, just frazzled. And I was like, if you'd like, I can hold her while you pack up your stuff. And she was like, that would be amazing. Thank you so much. I was like, look, like, it's fine. You got this. Let me hold her. You're doing great.
Takes a village.
Just sucks.
Moral of the story is you never know what people are going through.
Yeah. It sucked to see her struggle and to, like, I mean, on the flight on the way to the East Coast, like, I felt bad, and you were getting frazzled when Rhett was screaming.
Yeah, and there was two of us.
All right, like, there's two of us. We have a car seat for him on his own seat on the plane. Like, we're not just holding him on our lap. Like, we were frazzled, and we had it much more under control. So I could only, like, I just felt for her. I'm like, man, like, we've been there. I understand what it's like, and, like, the more frazzled you get and the more anxiety you get, the more your baby's like, yeah, I'm not calming down.
Yeah.
And in that moment, you just feel like the whole plane is looking at you and rolling their eyes, and just showing a little bit of support, I think, went a long way for her. But
I agree.
we survived it.
We did. That was our vacation. Then we got home. We were so fucking exhausted. Both of us took the next day off.
Yeah.
And just laid in bed.
Yeah. It was a lot.
We needed a vacation from our vacation. I think everybody should take a day off after they get home from a trip like that.
Yeah.
Because you need a day to reset.
It's just a lot. Like, you get exhausted.
Well, hey, we appreciate it. We'll wrap this up. Next week we'll talk a little bit more about our relationship and how we've come to be and troubles that we've gone through and the good stuff, the bad, everything.
The good news is, for as crazy as the vacation was, Enzo has already talked to his dad about how much fun he had and what a great time it was.
Which we were completely surprised by.
So, success!
Because we weren't getting that vibe from him.
Right. Success. All right, guys. We'll talk to you later.
Bye. Thanks, everybody, for listening. You can check us out at
FreezerMilk.com.
or Instagram.
Freezer Milk Podcast.
Until next week, guys. Thanks.
Don't forget, parenting is a trip. We are all here on the journey with you together. Thanks so much for listening.